Hello and welcome to Xero Uncut. I'm Zero. How's doing, Will?
I'm Bobby, and we have a guest today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, one half of the United States NWA Tag Champs, the Thoroughbred, Anthony Andrews. What's up, my
How's it
man? How we
going,
doing?
guys? I'm doing good, excited for this podcast, having a good time. Just
Good,
got
yeah.
back up to Fort Worth. I had a fun weekend down in Lufkin, Texas, and just
Okay.
looking forward to this all week.
Now, you're from Texas? Or you
Yes,
currently reside in Texas? Kind
I
of
live in.
figured. I was putting together the cowboy hat, and I was like, that's my best guess.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's where all the best cowboys live. My
exactly.
tag partner, AJ Kazana, his whole family is up in Tennessee. That's
Okay,
where
that's cool.
his promotion, his dad has a long lineage. His dad, his grandfather, both wrestlers, both been with the NWA, and that's Joe Kazana Promotions up
Okay,
around Knoxville, Tennessee.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to Dallas and Houston. Houston for the 2020 Rumble
Oh, nice.
and Dallas for last year's WrestleMania. So that was fun times.
Nice.
Fun times.
Before
So
I lived in Houston, so Houston I lived in for about 8 years, and before
okay.
that, I came out from Georgia for Mania, and then what's it called? Dallas. I'm trying to think of. I've been to a few in Dallas, just a few different things. So luckily, we get a lot of wrestling here. So
Yeah, yeah. Texas is a hot spot for that, I can
yeah,
imagine. It's warm all year. I'm jealous,
exactly.
quite frankly. New Jersey, you don't get that all year.
No,
It's brutal out here at some points.
I don't know.
So I did promise Zero I do how I met this lovely gentleman. So we're in California. So we park our car. We just happen to park next to Anthony. My
Nice.
one buddy gets out of the car, hits his car door into his car. And I'm like, oh no. Because I'm out of the car. I'm watching this unfold. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm looking at this big man, simply put. I won't say what I was thinking because this is a PG show, and I'm like, oh god, we're gonna get beat up. And luckily, he was just like, nah, man, it's a rental. I don't care. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, so I can breathe because I'm looking at this man. I'm like, and we were like, you're a wrestler, you have to be. He's like, yeah, you want to take pictures with the belt? And we were like, yeah, cool.
Fair enough, yeah.
And
Right.
but in my head, that moment, I'm like, well, he's gonna kick all of our asses.
So the whole crazy thing. The only crazy thing was I thought he saw it, and then I heard the don't.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh. But yeah, it's a rental, and if I remember right, I have to think of which one that was. I actually blew a tire when I was heading. So we were at WrestleCon.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was the next day. I think I blew a tire before I was trying to head back to WrestleCon
Oh,
and then head out. So that may have even been the vehicle that I had to return in California before coming back to Texas. So yeah,
oh,
you guys did me a favor. You let me
yeah.
know that that car was back. But no, it
Yeah,
was
that
such
was a
a
sign.
yeah, it was such a non-issue because I have rentals every weekend. I'm like, you guys didn't mean to. It's fine.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I just have that luck. I always tell it's a little bit of a long-winded story, but it was my birthday a few years ago, and I was out in Atlanta. Went to the zoo. There's no one there. Got there so far beforehand. I love pandas. It's just my thing. So I'm
That's
like,
cool.
oh, I'm gonna go see the pandas for my birthday. And I turn around. There's no one else in the parking lot, and I hear. "Geet." I look around. There's at least 20 parking spaces on each side of me, and one lady in a Crown Vic hops out of her car. And so I way back before my life now, I did insurance. So I'm walking up
Okay.
holding record on my phone, and she turns and just bursts into tears because she was trying to get back in the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, give me a second. I went and looked, and it's I still have it now. It's in some of my promos. It's a 78 Nova.
Okay.
This lady did not put a dent in my Nova, and the front end of hers is all smashed up. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
we can trade insurance if you want, but it didn't do any damage to my car. She just burst out crying again. She's like, I work here. I'll get you in to the zoo. I'll get you. blah blah blah. Just come by. I work at this place. And she gave us like hoodies, all this other stuff. She found out it was my birthday. She was so happy. She's like, "It's my boyfriend's car. I'm not used to driving it. I didn't mean to hit you." I was like, "There's no other cars in the whole parking lot,
Yeah,
man."
it's like,
But
come on.
yeah, so apparently I attract these things. I don't know
Yeah,
how. But you
that's-
guys were super
Fair enough.
nice. We took a ton of photos,
Yeah.
and everyone, it's wrestling. It's a family. We were all there for WrestleCon.
Yep.
I was there to visit a bunch of people that were inside. So you guys are good. It was nothing malicious. You were
And-
good.
I don't know if you remember, we were on the street together later on, about 10-ish minutes later, 15 minutes
Yeah.
later. Do you remember the guy who was yelling into his phone, walking towards us?
Oh,
Some random guy?
a little, yeah.
Yeah, and I see you looking out of the corner of your eye. You're like, just in case. So I start inching over towards you just in case. Like, I'm like, yeah, let me just get behind the big guy just in case something goes down.
He was a little questionable. That's my
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, I make sure they know that I know him, but I
Yeah.
don't go toward them because, no one.
You were like, you were kind of here. Let me get on camera. You were like, and I'm like, all right, let me get next to my buddy now, considering he doesn't hate us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey.
Well, just in case.
I'm like, hey, these are the guys that hit the car door. Human shield.
Yeah.
Click.
And I'm like, all right, well, yeah. So I told my buddy you were coming on today.
Nice.
He's like, yeah, and he'll be relieved that you had to get a new car. It was a sign.
Yeah.
But he's like, you're welcome. If I didn't do that, we wouldn't have met. I'm like, I guess you could twist it like that, but yeah.
Got to meet new friends. It all works out.
No,
it's
it was,
fine.
Yeah, we're like, yeah. Oh, good.
I could have gotten mad and could have been like, oh, the dent on the door, and then we both call insurance, and they would have said, oh, it's a scratch on the door. What are you doing? And then we're all mad at each other and said, this way, made new friends at a wrestling show. That's the point of it.
And I'm not even just trying to be like, because you're on here, all of us were like, such a nice guy. We were like, it was incredible. And he's like, and then he offered like the belt to take pictures, and we were like,
yeah,
this is incredible.
Yeah, I know you mentioned something because you were messaging me, weren't you, like during the weekend and that, and it was like, because I wasn't there because obviously I'm in the UK. I don't know if you can tell by my accent or whatever, but yeah, I'm in the UK and that, and Bobby was messaging me throughout the weekend and that, and he mentioned something in that about it, but he just said, oh yeah, I'll tell you the full story another time in that, and he's let's just talk it out, but yeah, he was like, It was like I almost got killed by a wrestler. That was the message.
I actually assume that's where Billy Corgan is who came up with the name The Country Gentleman. I assume it was just someone told him or he saw something at the hotel because in my head I was like, why Country Gentleman? And I assume it's just because I open doors a lot for people and say thank you, yes ma'am, no sir, things like that. So I assume he saw it at some point back at the hotel and was like, well, he's a nice guy. We'll call him The Country Gentleman. So it's a good name.
It is a sick name, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was just like a wild day, and then of course that day I lost my wallet, and I'm just like, I'm just like, man, and I had it when I was with you. I know that. Then about an hour later, gone, and made it to SoFi Stadium. Unfortunately, without me. So you had the car, I had the wallet. Yeah, it's just
that's brutal, man. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm amazed knowing wrestling fans. If it was a wrestling fan, I know there are tons of people out there that are good, bad, whatever. But it being a wrestling fan at that event, I'm surprised somebody didn't track you down or figure out some way because there are plenty of wrestling fans that are whatever, but the majority of them I found it's a close-knit community. That's part of what I love about wrestling. That's why I like doing meet and greets and selling merchandise and all that. I'll have my tag partner, we're about to go out in a couple matches, and he's like, where are you at? I'm like, well, selling merchandise because I get to hang out here and talk to people. Bringing little kids out. They're like, oh, this is their first wrestling show. And everyone's so excited. I'm like, I love it. It's crazy to me. I've been wrestling 17 years. The majority of that, I'd say 16. I've been not as nice fella in wrestling, but this last year being a good guy, man, it's crazy because just meeting so many kids and so many families, especially when we travel with the NWA, who are just like, I used to go see it with my parents or my grandparents. So I brought my kids, and this is their first show,
That's
and they're
awesome.
so excited to see everything. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
The nicest guys play the best heels.
Man.
I've been saying that for years, and it just keeps becoming more true and true. Like I met in Dallas last year and Cali again this year. I met Tony Storm,
Oh yeah, yeah.
the nicest girl,
Really?
the
Nice.
nicest girl. And she last year in Dallas, she was like, "Is that your real voice?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She
Yeah.
goes, "You sound like you're an actor in movies." And I'm like, "Well, all right, Tony Storm." And I told her the story this year. She goes, "Oh yeah, I remember you." She's like, "You still
Awesome.
sound like it." I'm like, "Great, great." Then I ran into Soraya in the hotel lobby. It was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
I have no idea like what she was doing there because she wasn't at WrestleCon. At least I didn't see her.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
don't know. It may have been. I wasn't even at WrestleCon either, but we all have so many friends. Even,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
you just
she's
go.
been doing
Yeah,
it so long that yeah, you just walk around. That's why I love it. There's so many people, and no one's, especially those weekends. I feel like everyone knows that's what you're there for. That's
yeah,
your big weekend of the whole year. So, I mean, everybody. Medusa's amazing. She's at NWA
oh
with
cool.
us. She pulled me over. Katie Forbes and Rob Van Dam, super
Oh yeah.
nice. The Renegade Twins, I just got
Oh yeah.
signed, I believe, to AEW. Oh man, if you're
Oh
not
really?
watching them, yeah,
Yeah.
watch the Renegade Twins because they
Yeah.
are incredible. They
I didn't
were.
know they got signed. Yeah.
I don't know if they did, but
Okay.
if I had to assume, and if not, then someone's
Yeah.
insane because I'm hoping they did. But they were with us at NWA and just the nicest people. And then watching their work in the ring and everything, they're just incredible. And then I saw them at WrestleCon. That was one of the big reasons I was there. And just come running across the room and hugs and everything. And then
Sick.
you've got
Yeah.
people like FTR that I had never met that sat there and talked to me for a while
Okay.
because
Yeah.
tag team wrestling. So
Mm.
I love listening to. I'm sad that his podcast he just announced is ending, from what
Yeah.
I understand.
I did see
But
that.
yeah, it's sad. But I sat there and talked to him, and just the work they put in. There's so many
Yeah.
people who you can do the base level of wrestling and still be really good. But those guys are already good, and they won't put in that
Mm.
minimum effort. They keep trying to make it better and better. And if somebody wants to make it a little more difficult, then they're willing to put in all that extra work to make
Yeah.
wrestling better. And I love that. I love not lazy wrestling. That's fun.
Like I would say I would honestly say like 99% of the wrestlers, there's that one oddball, but like 99% they're really cool people. Like I was
Absolutely.
at WrestleCon and all of a sudden I'm just at X-Pac's table and I'm like, oh, this is a must.
Yeah.
So super nice guy. Because like some of these guys, it's like you really don't know, and it's like I met Top Dollar last year.
Oh yeah,
AJ
yeah.
Francis, yeah, went up to his table. I'm sitting there for like 15, 20 minutes just chatting with the guy, and I'm like, what is this right now? Like,
Yep. Because
like,
you never know too. Like you wind up making a new friend who winds up doing this and this, or has an idea or something, and it's not for any benefit. You're just being nice, and then it turns out it helps you out along the way. I haven't had it be a very bad situation just being nice to someone. So I feel like a lot of these guys kind
yeah,
of
like in the last two WrestleCons I've been to, there's just one, and I won't name names,
oh yeah,
but it was just like,
because my thing is,
Yeah.
and luckily I wasn't on a different floor for this WrestleCon because I heard terrible things, and that's a tragedy that happens in wrestling. But my thing is just, yeah, don't even mention their name. Then no one that didn't hear about it or hear about them looks them up or adds them on Twitter or anything, and hopefully their following just dwindles until they're out of the business. To me, that's the easiest way to deal with.
Yeah. Now off
like
screen, it's another story, but
Yeah,
when the camera's not rolling, but
yeah,
but yeah, no, I
exactly.
mean like it was just like it could have been worse for sure. It's not like anything went seriously wrong, but it was just like, and then
Yeah,
I told you I interviewed Alicia Atut before.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
a manager.
I've seen her stuff. Super nice.
Super nice, like one of the
Nice.
nicest human beings. But when I see her at her table, she's looking around and her face. I'm like, ooh, she looks mean. But then I go up to her, hi, and I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm
you've
like,
got
yeah,
our
you just got that look.
our interviewer for NWA. She's been in Playboy a couple months ago. She does just travels around, models, all that. Her name's May, and she looks very focused. She doesn't look mean. She never looks
Yeah.
mean, but she looks very focused. And then you walk up, and her face lights up, and she's
Yeah.
happy to see everybody and talks. And that was another one for me. That like 15 minutes we're sitting there talking, and I'm like, oh, before I started with NWA, I wouldn't have expected that, but just such a nice person. And that's something that we have, I feel very thankful for in our locker room is a lot of the people in the back who are the staff. I know it's sorry sorry a lot of people who just wear so many hats. Sherry works there. She's a lady who just does everything, and I think it's actually her birthday today, so all of us put together a birthday thing to send to her because it's a close knit locker room. Billy, there's another Billy too. It's just you walk through and everyone's happy and excited to be there, and it's stressful, but you need those good people on your team. Otherwise, you won't get through those days that seem like they're never going to end, where you have 3 TV tapings and you're going to be there, 10, 12 hours. You need those good people with you. So it's good that you have a good experience because that's what wrestling should be. And I get very sad when I see negative experiences at any of the conventions because, man, that's not wrestling, and that's going to be the story that they tell someone instead of the awesome story of, hey, I took my kid up and we had this conversation, you posed with the belt, which is one of my favorite things. You mentioned I had you guys hold the belt because to me, that's my favorite is seeing people, and I don't know if you remember, that belt is ridiculously heavy. That's why I have this briefcase. Yeah, because it started tearing through the championship bag that they give you with the belt. It was tearing holes in it, and I don't want to be the guy who returns it to the NWA with holes in it. So it's this one's actually 9.5 pounds. The heavyweight championship is 10 pounds. So and they mean
gold, isn't it?
they mean every bit of it. What was that?
So £10 of gold, isn't it? The heavyweight championship. Yeah. See,
exactly.
I know me NWA. I know me NWA. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first things I did because of that was weigh it when I got it. I was like, I want to see if this one's over 10 pounds. Nope. They keep an eye on it. So
wrestling belts in real life are heavy. I can confirm now.
Yeah. I love when I hand it to a kid to take the photo, and I'll kind of gauge the kid on their size, and I'm like, I'll keep one hand on it because I had a kid start leaning when we went to take the photo.
Yeah, they're like, all right, bring it back. All right.
That's
we tried.
That's an expensive belt. Hold on.
the kid starts going down. You grab the belt as he's falling. You're like,
oh.
You're like, wait a minute.
I guess I'm not a gentleman. No. I take care of both.
Of course.
As long as the belt's safe.
Whilst on the subject of belts, then, here's one for you. I've just actually thought about this whilst we were on this. Obviously you've got the belt there with you at the moment. Obviously in some of the other companies, they give the wrestlers who's won it like a replica one to keep after they've obviously won it. Do you guys get that at NWA or what? So do you have like a replica one which you can keep afterwards, or once you give that one back, is that done basically?
I'm not sure as far as the NWA because I've never lost a championship with the NWA. But I do know with other companies. So RCW is one here in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
And I've been their international champion over the last 3 years. It's been 3 separate times. I've had their international championship forever. So they actually did get me a replica of that belt. I love that belt, just the way it looks and everything. And like I said, I've had it so many times and for so long. I just lost it last month against Ryan Davidson. And so that was a big deal. I expect it'll be the same because every time when I lose it, the very next time that I get a title defense, the first time was against, you guys know Luigi Primo, I assume?
Yeah.
Makes pizza. Yeah. Luigi Primo. So we were on Impact Bash at the Brewery, and he won it from me in a 4-way scramble. And then the very next night in Dallas at Texas Live, I won it back from him. And then David Kidd in San Antonio, he won it. Actually, it was up here in Arlington for RCW Mania. It was during Mania week that you were saying you were here. They had it here in Dallas. So he won it, wouldn't give me a rematch for a few months. And then the first time that I had a shot against him again, I won it back. So I assume that's all that's going to happen with Ryan Davidson. But for right now, he has it. And I do love that, like, especially when you're tied to that championship. They have a different heavyweight championship that's actually held by Khan from AEW right now.
Oh, yeah. One of our buddies just wrestled him recently, like a month ago now.
Oh, yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
He can go. I've had one match for him for the International Championship. He couldn't beat me for it. And then somehow he got a shot. Somehow he got a shot at the RCW Heavyweight Championship, and he won that. So I'm not sure if I'm moving on to do something with him or but when you're synonymous with those championships, I really do enjoy that replica because that's something that I'll always enjoy and always kind of hold near. And then also you get to travel around either if it's with the championship or at least a replica, because that's what I enjoy, is traveling around the country and representing those companies that I work for. I wouldn't work for them if I wasn't proud to be there. When they trust me with the championship, that's something different that happens. And I feel like even the NWA appreciates that. I know other companies appreciate that, is I travel around with that championship and show them, hey, if you tune into RCW in San Antonio, if you tune into Tomahawk in Lufkin, I'm going out to Wrestle America in Georgia. I think it's week after next. Any of those, when you tune in, you know that you're going to see that quality professional wrestling. You're going to just get a different type of product than some of the things that are out there. And I love working for a lot of different companies. Same with Joe Kazana Promotions. And then Devotion. I don't know if you've heard of them in Salt Lake City. They're up in Utah. Devotion. They're a good one to look up. And Gats Entertainment. Just went up there, and Eric Bischoff was there when I went up last time.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
They're amazing. They do a lot of fundraising events and stuff like that, but it's just, those are the ones that are amazing shows. And I feel very proud traveling around the country and saying, hey, I'm a champion for this show. I work here. So you can tune into it and you know you're going to have that quality level across the board.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people who, like, we've interviewed on here, and we've actually had them on a few times, and they work for they do a lot for BCW. Pre-combination. Yeah, they do a lot for that. And we've actually had the owner of BCW on here as well. And stuff. He was pretty cool. Yeah, he's so we've kind of so we've had that, and
that's awesome.
We've got a few bits and pieces being sorted out with them and that, haven't we? So we get like general interviews and stuff like that with some of them as well, and bits and pieces. So it's that's pretty good. I always find as well, it's pretty good when you can obviously get in with the smaller companies as well, because like the bigger ones, they like, some of them like trying to shut you out, and like we're having a lot of problems at the minute with WWE and trying to get interviews with them because they're just awkward basically to try and do it and that, and and AEW as well, they're also awkward as well trying to get interviews with them. But I mean,
I can confirm that.
but like I've literally approached a couple of the smaller promotions, and they've just been like, no problem, we'll get on that. And like Impact as well, I've managed to get a couple on from Impact and everything, because I've been on with, who have we had? We've had Frankie Kazarian, Taya Valkyrie, so we've had them and that, and so the smaller promotions are a lot, to me, the smaller promotions are a lot better, and like we at Xero, we actually like promote smaller promotions and stuff, and and try and work with them and try and see what we can do, because in my eyes, the smaller ones don't get enough eyes on them, and it's sometimes you get the better quality wrestling and that, and like the better sort of like better stars and stuff. Like for example, you coming on here tonight, and obviously the story with you and Bobby at Mania and stuff. It's a lot better. Like it's, in my eyes, it's a lot nicer wrestlers and that. And this goes back to obviously Bougie, who we say is a friend of the show, and that. And he lets us basically bully him every time he comes on here. We basically bully him, and that he basically he allows it. You know, he's fine with it and that because
He
he
loves
joins
it.
in, and yeah, he loves it and stuff, and like you know, and all over Twitter and that as well. Like when you always like you know bully him and stuff like that. Well, it's not really bullying; it's character building, as I tell him. Basically,
There you go. I like that.
yeah, it's not bullying; it's character building. But no, it's not.
Yeah.
I just want to say as well, whilst we're on the stream, it's not. We don't bully people. It's,
No.
It's jokes
You would
with
never.
people. You know,
It's all-
Otherwise, a country gentleman would have to come and stop that real quick.
yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
that's the thing with independent wrestling in general is I love so like a couple times in the last month I've worked with WWE. I have a ton of friends in AEW. I've done things in the past with Impact. All of these places worked with some of the guys from MLW. So
Yeah.
on this side, we're a very close knit group. The thing is with independent wrestling, even at NWA's level, you actually we do meet and greets and you get to meet people. There's that intimate feeling. And that's why a lot of people, especially when you get into the independents, you get to actually sit there and talk with people. And you get to, like, we had that conversation in the parking lot, just hanging out, taking photos, because I'm not worried about some of the same things that they have to worry about yet. And even taking photos or being 5 minutes late could be detrimental to their career. Taking that extra 5-10 minutes, whatever we took taking photos, it can come off as like mean or rude, but they have these insane schedules. And I always see that when I'm at WWE working with them, everyone's running around 100% of the day. And they have so much packed in, as opposed to if you go to an independent promotion, you can sit there and talk to these guys for a while. The show that I did for Tomahawk this last weekend in Lufkin, we had the Von Erich boys down. And so they're just hanging out. Yeah, MLW champion Hammerstone, he and I were in a 6-man ladder match.
Okay.
And so the night before, we do a press conference. We're hanging out. We're eating with fans. We're talking to them the entire time. We're just having a good time, and there's a much more intimate feeling. Sometimes I can't even do that at NWA shows. When we have meet and greets, I make sure that's my only focus. That's where all my time and attention goes. But it's something like that press conference, and it was catered and everything. You bought a ticket, and that was our focus, was hanging out, just taking photos with kids and families and just talking about wrestling. And that's a lot different feel. So I always, everyone says support independent wrestling, but that's a huge part of it, because just a couple months ago, I'll go back to the Renegade Twins. They're down in San Antonio just doing Mission Pro shows, just hanging out, talking. So if you can catch people in GCW, I don't know if you saw any of GCW when you were out in LA. That's what I did. So I had a show with Brian Kendrick's show, Wrestling Pro Wrestling, out there.
Oh, wow.
And then
He
most
was
of the
there.
rest of the time,
Yeah. Kendrick was there. I
Yeah.
passed by him and I'm like,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
Kendrick."
It's amazing. He's such a cool dude. And that was, for me, a fun one, because I listened to a podcast with him it was a while back, years and years ago, on Colt Cabana's podcast. And he just talked about leaving WWE and different things, as far as people tend to view happiness as like this one thing, and you don't even really experience it when you're in that moment that you're supposed to be happy. And it's when I was still doing like a regular job and all this stuff, but I loved wrestling. So I'm like, how do I get, especially people in my personal life, to understand that you can be happy without this dollar figure that I'm giving up from a regular job to start out here, where I know I'm going to get far past that dollar figure, but everyone's looking at it this set way. And the way he explained it just made so much sense to me, and it kind of put me at ease, as far as like, yeah, you have to look for happiness first, and then to me, money's always going to be there. It's never been a problem, and I'm very lucky with that. But like, that's never been my focus with anything. So the money's always going to come. It's always going to be there. And luckily it has. Like, this been an incredible year for me, and I owe all of that to NWA. But like, it was such an amazing podcast to listen to, that I was just stoked to finally get to talk to him and be on his show, because Wrestling Pro Wrestling is amazing. They have people like Sheik, Chupacabra, Stoner Bros are fun on there. Just so many people. They had Luigi Primo at that one. So it was crazy because our promoter from San Antonio
Yeah.
went to see that show. And so, like, me and Luigi Primo, the promoter, Delilah Doom used to go out to that San Antonio show a lot. She's out there next month, too. We all took a photo together. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing. Like, I love it. And I honestly kind of lost the lead on where I was going with that. But it was just, GCW as far as that closeness. So I just went out there, got to hang out with them and work a little bit with GCW, and just watching some of those shows, the fans are up against the ring and it's such a good atmosphere. There was like one fan that had an issue and GCW swooped in, made sure that was taken care of. Yep. They took care of it. Their security guys are amazing. So the rest of the time, it's just fun. I get to see people like Brian Keith from down here in Houston is wrestling Too Cold Scorpio. And like, yeah, Effie and Allie and Sheik are all in this amazing match for Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Like all these incredible shows and matches and people. And that's what I love is you get this awesome feeling. And a lot of people don't know there were WWE scouts sitting in the crowd during all of these shows. And like, it's just such an amazing weekend and atmosphere. And then we get to actually hang out and talk to fans about like, it kind of recharges our battery for the next year. That's to me how I feel with those shows.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, do you? Oh, go ahead, Xero.
No, you carry on. You carry on. I wasn't saying anything anyway. You know.
Do you have any conventions coming up or meet and greets in New Jersey in the future?
Not in New Jersey. I will have to double check, and you'll want to keep an eye on Smashing Pumpkins are in Australia right now. Billy Corgan owns NWA. So when they get back, they've announced that they're going to do select dates, but they haven't announced the dates yet. For the Smashing Pumpkins tour in the U.S., it's going to have the NWA traveling with them.
Wow.
So my understanding is now they basically do the open. He saw Billy has a crazy mind. He watches a ton of wrestling. He likes knowing a lot of what's going on, kind of how to present it differently. So he would see a lot of shows where they may have wrestling in the parking lot of a show or something like that, and he didn't want to do that. So his has, from my understanding, it's basically like 2 stages, or even if it's just one, when they finish up with something, there's a complete break. It becomes a wrestling show. And then they come on after that. So they're completely separate things so that wrestling is really showcased. So you get to see Smashing Pumpkins, whichever the openers, because I think they may have different ones for different towns, and pro wrestling as a standalone showcase, which is really nice.
I was going to say that's what I like about the NWA is it's obviously it's different like your WWE is different to AEW and stuff. Like it's it's unique. It's something that it's like the good old days. It's like the golden days of wrestling, basically. Again, like not as like entertainment-y wise as it is kind of now. It's literally it is wrestling, and that is it. Literally, it's all just that's the main thing behind it. To what I enjoy about it, and that. So
yeah. You said you didn't know the dates yet. They haven't released the dates.
They haven't released which ones are going to have wrestling paired with it, because I don't know if it's every date or just certain ones. So
there's one in August in New Jersey. I went last year. It was like Kevin Nash, Booker T, Orange Cassidy. Have you worked with Orange Cassidy or met him?
No. That he seems like a guy with a crazy mind. To be able to do that, you have to be able to think about things on a certain level. That's impressive.
I met him, and I was supposed to meet him in March of 2020. Obviously, we know what happened there.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man. So then I found out he was coming to Jersey, and it's like 40 minutes away. I'm like, all right, I got to take the trip.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, I've been waiting 2.5 years to meet you. And he just goes, 2.5 years? He goes, well, we're here now. Just that monotone. And then at the end of the picture, he goes, what's your name? I'm like, oh, Bobby. He goes, oh, cool. I'm Orange Cassidy. Nice to meet you. And I'm like, did I I'm like mind blown. I'm like, that's incredible. When he's got the little kids, he'll put his arms on their head just so he can rest. It's like, I'm like, all right, this is phenomenal character work. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
one. I can I'm not sure if I'm planning on going to this, but if you're there, I would definitely go for
I was
sure.
gonna say, and I'll let you know as soon as we've talked
Yeah.
a few times online. I'll let you know as soon as they let us
Yeah,
know which
for
dates, if that's one of them. I'll
It's
absolutely let you know.
August 20th. There we go.
Yeah.
It's a
So
Sunday, I believe.
yeah.
DDP is gonna be there. Some
Oh,
AEW
nice.
people. Yeah. The guy that plays the Iron Sheik on Young Rock. He's gonna be there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Really nice guy.
Really. That's
Like
awesome.
I saw him June of last year. It was in a small town in my area, and
Yeah.
I have the Rock shirt on, Rock
Oh,
shorts,
okay.
Rock shoes. He goes, but I had a Gatorade. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You got all that Rock gear, but you don't have his energy drink." And
Oh.
I'm like, no. I was like, I really don't, drink that. All of a sudden, he puts his bag on the table, unzips it, pulls one out. He goes, "That's on the house." I'm
Wow, dude.
like, what just happened?
All of
And
those
Oh, that's
guys.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyone who makes it, who especially at like a certain level, is
Yeah.
just a
Hmm.
nice person, a
yeah,
humble person. Talking about Orange Cassidy, the
yeah.
first time I ever met Cena backstage at Raw in
Oh,
Atlanta, walked straight up to me, "Hey, I'm John." I
that's a
know.
man
I
right there.
promise everyone in this building knows you're John.
Yeah,
Like,
you're like,
I
talking to
promise.
me?
Yeah. But still, he's gonna walk up,
Yeah.
just be a nice guy. And then a few of the Young Rock extras. There's Luke Hawx, who plays Stone Cold, and
Okay.
Yeah.
then Brady Pierce, I believe. I forget who he does, but he's also on. Why can't I think of the Stephen Amell show about wrestling?
Heels. Heels?
Heels, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's on there. And so just super nice guys. Anyone
Yeah.
who, to me, in my head, just dealing with people who have either been stars in WWF or other companies, WCW, if they got to that cusp and didn't make it, then those are the ones you have to watch out for. The ones who made it, made tons of money, all this stuff, they have this core of just like being nice. It's being a happy person. You run to Luke Gallows, who's been everywhere in the world, and he'll
Oh
just
yeah.
goof around with you about anything. Like, he doesn't care. You'll feel like you know him if you've never met him before. He's just a nice guy.
I saw him in Dallas last year. I didn't like meet him or anything, but every time I walked by that table, they were just yelling, having a good time.
Yep.
JBL, another guy.
Oh yeah.
He was everywhere but his table at WrestleCon last year, and he's flipping the bird at people, and I'm like, this is
Awesome.
fantastic.
That's everyone
Yeah.
has something bad to say about Kevin Nash, but whenever
No.
I saw him at WrestleCon, all these people, like new young people that you would think he isn't, like, he would have some bad reputation. He's walking around just high fiving everybody, grabbing guys on their shoulders, talking to everybody. Same thing. I didn't see him at his table. He's walking
No.
around, goofing around with everybody else. So
Super nice guy, Kevin
yeah,
Nash.
yeah.
I wasn't like chatting with him for like 10 minutes or anything. It was kind of like, I'm a little starstruck, of course, but that was at
Yeah.
this meet and greet I just told you about last year. That was him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because me and my buddy go, and we get out of the car, we're parked, we're walking over. Fun fact, Gail Kim almost hit my car in the parking lot. Like, she comes around and I'm like, is that Gail Kim? And my buddy was like, I think so. So we just get out of the car, we're walking over. All of a sudden, I see two dudes bringing in their luggage.
Mhm.
I'm like, I squint my eyes a little. I'm like, is that Marty Skrull and Flip Gordon?
What?
So I'm like, Marty. He's like, hey. I'm like,
Nice
why are
guys.
you parking in the same parking lot as me? He goes, I don't know.
That's what you guys asked me. I don't know if you remember that. Someone asked, they were like, why are you parking in our parking lot? Don't you guys have some special secret entrance? I was like, they probably do, but I don't know about it.
Yeah,
So
because he was like, I don't know. And then that accent. And I was
yeah.
like, and then I met him later on. Super, super nice guy. Super.
Yeah.
Like, like he was one of those ones I was like, all right, he could go either way, but I was like chatting with him for like 15 minutes, and he's like, can you hold on 1 minute? All of a sudden, he gets up, he walks out of the exit door, like right behind him. I'm like, all right, I'm not really thinking anything of it. He comes back, he goes, I need to piss so badly. I'm like, I mean, you could have just been like, hey man, could you give me a minute? But he was just like, would you excuse me 1 minute? Like he would have continued talking, but he was like, I have to go.
Yep.
And then Flip Gordon was super nice. Yeah.
If they're nice, they're either going to make it, or if they made it, they're probably halfway nice people. Because again, everyone that runs these companies has to deal with them so many hours out of the day. You're not going to want to sit there and deal with the jerk for 10, 12 hours when you're in the foxholes with these people. Like, you want to have good people by you. Yeah,
for sure. And kind of going back to Young Rock, Xero, did you know a current NXT superstar played Ric Flair on that show?
Waller, wasn't it?
Yeah, Grayson Waller.
Yeah,
Grayson
Waller. Yeah, Grayson Waller.
Really?
Yeah. He played Ric Flair, and the only reason he stopped was because WWE signed him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I saw that. I'm like, and I love Grayson Waller. I think.
Yeah.
I it's so weird. I hated him as a good guy. Hated him. But as a bad guy, I'm like, this man is fantastic.
Yeah. He's very hateable. But
then I met Andre Chase. It was kind of like you. I met Andre Chase in the WrestleCon lobby last year. And I'm like, is that Andre Chase? Nice guy. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I'm just hanging out. I'm like, okay.
This is why you go to independent shows. You go to WrestleCon, especially if you're out for Mania week. The first one I think I ever did was Orlando. And yeah, there were so many shows. It was Ric Flair's retirement week.
Oh,
so many amazing shows where just went to Ring of Honor. I know the one I came out to in Houston. I'm walking around. I had already been wrestling for a while, but walking around, went to the Ring of Honor show. They had I think it's George Brown Smith Convention Center, and they were having an after party, and everyone just kind of shuffled me in the wrestler entrance. So I'm just in there hanging out with Bryan Danielson, Kevin Steen, Generico, Hero, all these guys, and I've got pictures of them. I used to have a Fu Manchu, and they're all like playing with my Fu Manchu, Aries, pointing to it, and like, it's amazing. Just go to these things, and people are like, oh, well, over the week it adds up. I don't know when you're going to have that many events in one central location, and the opportunity to, everyone just expects at that point, like, you're going to have so much fan interaction. You just try and make the most out of every moment and make it fun, because that builds lifetime fans. So if you're a fan, go to these shows. Like, it's a good time.
I mean, look at me and you perfectly. Like, no offense.
Exactly.
I wasn't familiar with you before, but now I tell everybody, I'm like, super nice guy. Go watch his stuff. Like,
you might get hit by Gail Kim. You might hit somebody's car with your door. Something will happen, and then friends. That's.
I wish you would have hit my car, but that's another story for another time. Maybe this time if she's around there. Yeah, she just keeps speeding, and I'm like, was that Gail Kim? And my buddy's like, yeah. I'm like, huh. And then and like,
did she have Robert Irvine with her? Because he has delicious protein bars. Whenever I met her, I was like, I'm a huge fan of your husband too, because he's on Food Network.
Okay.
And he's if you aren't sure, just look up Food Network chefs, and he's the most jacked chef you have ever seen on Food Network. This dude is a monster.
Yeah,
and that's Gail Kim.
I don't think, but that was a blur of a day, because like we saw Marty Scurll just getting out of the parking lot. We're in line. Kevin Nash. Like all of a sudden we turn and Kevin Nash is right next to us. We're like, oh hi sir, how are you?
Awesome.
And he's walking in, and we're like, and it was summer in New Jersey, and it's cool. It's cooler outside than it is in the building. Ooh. And it's like, and then I'm like, have you ever met Nikki Duke? She's an independent wrestler.
I don't think so. Maybe if I saw her.
super nice girl. I've met her a couple times, and she's gonna be coming on my channel soon. But
Nice.
I because like sometimes I meet wrestlers and like I'll just meet them once. But like
Yeah.
if you've talked to me, like Alicia to Nikki Duke, you obviously if you would ever come to a con around here,
Yeah.
I want to support you guys. So like I'm taking a picture with Nikki and her hand is on my back and I'm just drenched in sweat. I'm like, I am so sorry. She's like, nope, I am sweating my off, she wasn't hiding it, but I'm like,
yeah, we're all going through the same thing, and I think that's part of it too. Because like I blow my tire, a fan has some crazy thing happen. Like we're all dealing with the same set of circumstances, and it's for the same reason. We love wrestling. We want that experience. We want to hang out with each other. So we're all going through that together. And so in those moments, especially those weekends, a ton of crazy stuff happens, and it's like anything. It brings everybody closer together, and you meet the wrestling fans that are good fans that you can talk to and have a conversation with. And it's huge for us too. So I definitely get that. Her being like, nope, I'm sweating just as bad as you are.
Yeah. She's like, no, it's okay. I'm sweating my off. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, I still felt bad, but it was like, yeah. But like when I went to Houston in 2020, right before COVID, I was at the Rumble. It's just like, we're waiting because the hotel we were in, they parked the car. So we're like, hey, we're coming down. They're like, okay. They get the wrong car. And we're like, all right, we're just waiting. We're waiting. I'm looking around. I look down the street. I see this tall guy, long hair walking. And I'm like, hey, Dad, look down there. That kind of looks like Seth Rollins. He's like, awesome. He's like, no shot. And I'm like, so I'm keeping my eye, not creepily, but I'm just like, as he's coming closer, I'm like, is this who I think it is? And I'm like, Dad, I'm like 99% sure that's Seth. And he goes, no, there's no shot. And he gets closer, and I'm like, oh my God. So, and I know he didn't want to be seen. I know he did not, but for the moment I had with him, super nice. Awesome. Took a picture with me, and he was a major heel at this point. Yeah. So I thought he was going to be like, "Go F yourself, buddy," and I would have been like, "All right, fair enough." I would have been like, "All right, cool," but just super nice guy. I was like, yeah, and then another one, same weekend where I wanted to go see this podcast I've been listening to, and it's at some bar right outside of where the Astros play. I'm blanking on the name.
Is it Minute Maid Park?
Yes, Minute Maid. Yeah. Awesome field.
Yeah.
But so I'm listening to the podcast. I'm like, all of a sudden we're at this bar and my dad's there. He's a wrestling fan, but like, not super. So he's just sitting. Yeah, he's sitting on one of the tables. So I come back. I see. It's the most bizarre thing. I see a woman next to him and a guy on the other side, and I'm like, what is going on? So we're getting talking, and he's like, hey, let's exchange information. We ended up going to WrestleMania last year together, and it's like awesome. Yeah. And it's like, this is incredible. And we told the podcast because that's where we met. And because I told the one third of the podcast the night before, we're like, yeah, we met through you guys. And he goes, tell that story tomorrow, please.
Yeah.
He goes, please tell that story. He goes, that's incredible. So we tell it, and everyone's like, yeah. And it's like, it's just wrestling is incredible. Yep. And when I was getting into the Rumble that weekend, I met this guy. He had a few adult beverages, let's just say. More than a few. But we're talking, super nice guy, no problems. So we get a little separated. All of a sudden I see him waving me down, and we're like 10 people deep, and he goes, oh, that's my family. We don't look anything alike. Let's just say that.
Okay.
The people let us in. We're right behind him. We get him behind him. He shakes my hand. He hugs me. I never see that man again.
What? That's awesome.
I'm like, this is incredible. I don't know his name. I don't know anything about him. He hugs me. He goes his way. He goes, I Ubered here. Don't worry. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
But like, never saw him again. Wrestling fans, just some of the nicest people, and
Yeah.
like we're all there for the same reason. At Dallas last year, just happened to sit next to this guy with his son and his wife. We're still friends to this day. We talk a lot. It's like incredible, you know. It's
That's
like makes you feel
pro
good.
wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, like you just
Everybody
never know.
exactly. Everybody wants to act like it's just those few things that happen in the ring. It's the same on the actual wrestler side, getting people to understand. And I'm really big on this, especially now. Like, no, it's filming stuff. It's working outside the ring. It's putting that time in with fans before the show, after the show. Like you're tired. Let's say some of them, especially some of the smaller independent shows, if I try and help them out and I get there the day of the show, then I go to the show. I do all this stuff with fans beforehand at intermission. After, all I want to do is get back to the hotel and go to sleep for a few hours before I wake up and go to the airport to fly back home.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because that's pro wrestling, is
Yeah.
putting in that time after, hanging out with them. And like, yeah, I'm at the merch table, but like if somebody comes up to me and we have a 20-minute conversation about wrestling and how they used to watch it with their family and what shows they're going to or what shows they enjoy, that's pro wrestling. It's not just, hey, I'm going to do a couple things inside the ring. Nope, that's not pro wrestling anymore. It's your social media, it's everything, because that's the fun part. If it was just going into a ring and fighting for 15, 20 minutes a week, it wouldn't be fulfilling for us. It wouldn't, the fans wouldn't enjoy it, all that. But when you have these amazing moments and all these things where in 10 years you're going to be talking about, you know, the different people that you met and the different things at the con, all of these stories. And I'm going to tell someone about, yeah, this guy hit my door, and then a month later I find out that his friend does a podcast. So yeah, we
Yeah.
this is my guy on Instagram, yeah, or whatever social media there is in 10 years. Yeah, we're still friends on here because
Yeah, it's sick.
that happened in the parking lot. That's pro wrestling. Like moves and all that stuff I love, but I've been doing that for 17 years, and if that's all it was, it'd be difficult to keep that going and at least keep that excitement after 17 years. But these moments, and especially what everything's grown into with pro wrestling, how you go for a week and it's this entire experience,
Yeah.
people you've never met. Like, if it wasn't for WrestleCon, you and I wouldn't have met.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's these
sick.
huge moments that now just connect the wrestling community more, and it's just more and more stuff, and it keeps growing. And I love that about wrestling.
Now, have you heard the Eric Bischoff story about the female fan?
I don't think so.
Okay, so they went to a convention years ago. I don't
Okay.
know who it was, but when it was. But this woman grabs the mic and she's like, "Hey, you know, I didn't have the best relationship with my father, but we always used to sit down and watch wrestling together. So like, you know, and they're like, okay, and you know, Bischoff, he's like, I'm trying not to cry, trying
Yeah.
not to cry. So a few years later, sadly, her dad passed away before the wedding. So before her wedding, so
gosh.
she messages his wife, and she's like, "Hey, I don't really have any family. She's like, would Eric want to walk me down the aisle at my wedding?" And Bischoff, he even started crying like on the interview. He's like, "How do you not get?" He's like, "Wrestling is
Yeah.
incredible," and like he even said, he looked at his wife. He goes, "Well, plane or truck, which one are we doing?" He goes, "We have to go." He's like, "We have to go." He goes, "Just how are we getting there?" And there's photos. He walked her down the aisle, and he's like, "That's the beauty of wrestling." He's like,
Yeah.
he goes, "I would have never pictured myself doing this," but he's like, "I had to do it." He's like, you know, yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he's another one who's a super nice guy, and I met him and his wife, Lori, right? Is his wife's name? I think it's
I'm not
Lori.
sure.
I met them in Utah at the show that I did for Gats Entertainment. They're in the actually, I met them at one point, and then at Buffalo Wild Wings. We went separately, and we're eating. And he said hi and introduced Lori, and I was like, "Hey, I feel like I know you already." She kind of looked up. I was like, "Because of the podcast."
Yeah.
Like,
He's got a great
they,
podcast.
yeah,
Really
they
does.
always either talk about you or you'll pop on or something. I was like, "I feel like I already know you guys."
Yeah,
And
that's
she was
funny.
like, "Oh, thanks," and he said thanks too, because I'm like, yeah, they're just super nice people. So it doesn't surprise me that he did that for the girl, because they were just extremely nice, and I think uh, the promoter up there had rented like a range for them to go and shoot all these different guns. And
Yeah.
she
Oh, that's
said
sick.
that she had like a huge like pain in her shoulder because they were shooting like not normal guns. They're out there shooting 50 calibers and everything, and like all this crazy stuff.
Mm.
And I'm just like, they're the nicest people.
You never know when you're gonna run into them. Like, well,
Yeah.
so Zero. I don't even know if I told you this story.
Probably not.
My 26th birthday. So this was last year. We're at Hooters, and I'm drunk, so we're all drinking.
Yeah.
Safely, of course. I want that on record. I did not drive. I got
It's
driven home.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So my one buddy, he had a couple, and he's like, "All right, my Uber's here. I gotta go." Like, all right, see you later, man. All of a sudden, I feel, about 5 minutes later, I feel hands on my shoulders. I turn around, it's him. He goes, he's like, "Bo Dallas is in the corner over there."
Awesome.
I'm like, "Jake, how drunk are you right now?" He goes, "No." I'm like 99% positive Bo Dallas is in that corner over there. And I'm like, okay. So then my one buddy who doesn't drink, sober as anything, he's like, "I'll go investigate."
Yeah.
He comes back, he goes, "It's Bo Dallas." And I'm like,
Awesome.
"Ah." And then it turns out Curtis Axel was also there.
Oh, okay.
So everyone there knows I'm a massive wrestling fan. So I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
man." And they're eating, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. But then somebody was like, "Do it,
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I got challenged now, so I have to do it. I went up to them, the nicest guys.
Yeah.
They took a picture of me, everything.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, man, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm like, it's my 26th birthday, and they told me you were here, and they were like, "Oh, happy birthday, man!" And I'm like, oh man. But a month later, give or take, I saw them at WrestleCon, both of them,
nice.
and I was like, "Hey, about a month ago, you were at a New Jersey Hooters, just enjoying your meal, and this drunk kid stumbled up to you. I'm like, thanks for not punching me in the face." And they both said, they were like, "You gave us zero reason to punch you in the face." They were like, "We would have, but you didn't give us a reason." Like,
Yes.
I'm like, man,
Biggest
I
thing.
love this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just be
They're-
polite
yeah.
and nice, and 90% of the time they're good.
Yeah. And somebody was like, because Bo Dallas dates Liv Morgan, and somebody was like, "Wait, where's Liv?" I'm like, "No, we're not asking him that. No.
No.
We
No,
want him. Yeah, we want him. Not,
Jeez.
I
So
understand, but
it was back when I was in college. I don't even think maybe I had just started wrestling, but a friend of mine worked at Carrabba's in Macon, Georgia. And so Macon, Georgia used to be a huge wrestling town. Like, if you listen to old, like, if you read through old books, some of the podcasts will always mention it. Arn Anderson mentions it a lot in his podcast. Batista has it in his book. So they eventually got to where they would just run like the smaller house shows there. But so Batista walks in the door at Carrabba's and goes and sits down, and he's just eating. And no one knows who he is except for my friend Jacob, who works there. And he's a huge wrestling fan, always has been. He knows that I am. And he sees, at first, it just looks like this massive guy. And he walks by a few times, and he's like, oh. Everyone else, no one has any idea, but they know he's somebody just when he walks in the room. And one of them goes over and starts talking to him and asking what he does. And this is a prime example of what not to do. Starts asking him what he does. So he's drinking at the bar waiting for his food to come. And he's just having fun. He's like, oh, I'm looking for a job. Are you guys hiring? The guy's like, yeah, we're hiring. He's like, oh, can I get an application? Walks over, gets an application, hands it to Batista. Batista fills out the entire thing. Whole thing. puts down the WWE number for corporate, that if they're out and something comes up like travel issues, anything, you call this number, or you can give this number for someone to call. Fills out the whole thing. And my friend Jacob walks up to him after and he's like, hey, I'm sorry if people are bothering you. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I have a roommate who's a huge wrestling fan. I think I had just started, so he may have mentioned, like, he just started wrestling. Could you sign something for him? And he's like, look, let me eat, and I'll sign anything you want. He's like, I'm good. Yeah, so he came back whenever he was, I think he actually brought him his to-go bag after. And he just signed a Caraba's paper bag for me, and like, best wishes, blah, blah, Batista, all this stuff. Handed it to him, and then my buddy snuck into the office and took the application. I think he wound up taking that back, actually, because it could have had personal information, even though I think most of it was fake.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went through and brought all the stuff home and showed me. I was like, man, that is crazy. So if you're nice and just act like a normal human being like you did, if you ask him if he's looking for a job, that may not go over.
Not at Hooters.
He might have fun. No,
not at Hooters. That would have been interesting. I think I would have got punched in the face. They probably would have laughed, and then they would have punched me in the face. Yeah, but Batista, that's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Oh, really super cool, laid back guy, from what I understand. I've only met him a couple times, but yeah, every time he seems super laid back. Again, they're nice guys. They're going to be more successful. If they're successful, halfway decent chance that they're pretty nice and laid back.
Cool. Yeah, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. Cena is my dream interview. Like,
oh, dude,
dream meet, dream interview. I think Cena is like, if you think of a class act human being, I think Cena is the perfect picture of that.
I will tell you one thing. So you met me. I'm a fairly large guy, like you were saying.
Can confirm.
So I go to shake his hand at Raw in Atlanta. Yeah. He says, hey, I'm John. Just crazy to me still. Yeah. We shake hands like anyone shakes hands, right? His hand hooks in here. Which way? There we go. Hooks in here where you always hook on a handshake. Yeah. His fingers went halfway up my forearm. He is massive. He's a huge dude. And he's not even that much taller. Just his hands are the size of my entire head. It went halfway up my arm. I was like, good Lord, man. How? And again, I'm not a small guy. He's just massive.
I met Big Show last year.
Oh, yeah.
A nice guy. I just wanted to shake his hand. His hand ate my hand. Yeah. And I'm like, I felt it. I'm like, wow.
It's crazy. Geez. Some of those guys, man, they're huge. And then, people think Cody's like a normal sized guy. And I met him that same Raw in Atlanta. And then again, this last week we did stuff together when I was at Raw. And he's huge. He's just a huge human being. And it doesn't strike you that way on TV, but when you meet him live, he's an enormous guy.
Same thing with Seth. I was like, oh, you're tall. And then I was like, you're skinny. like, don't get me wrong. Seth Rollins is in incredible shape. I would never. But like what I saw, I'm like, he doesn't have an ounce of fat on him.
No, he's so lean.
And I'm like, wow. And he's wearing like a hoodie and like track pants and like 80-degree Houston weather. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They're awesome guys.
And it's great. And then I don't even know. I'm trying to go like around all these cons and meet people, because sometimes, not to bring it down, but like you ever watch the Power Rangers or?
Yeah.
Jason David Frank. I wanted to meet him for years. Years.
That's
and then
sad,
what happened? So I'm like, I can't miss these cons anymore because
exactly.
you just don't know.
No,
and it's like
never,
and it's like
never know you can.
Yeah, it's like if I have the Flair last year, I was like, this is a must. I'm like, this is like a legend in your presence, and it's like.
And if you've loved all these things, wrestling, Power Rangers, all that stuff your whole life, now it was already before, as long as you had the confidence to do it. But now it's so much more acceptable to like grab a group of friends and go out to a convention and just get to meet all these people. Like everyone's excited about it, and if they're not, honestly, I probably don't want to be friends with that person. Like if this is something you're excited about, you're excited to go and do this, and someone kind of, well, I don't know, that doesn't seem cool. I'm going to I actually don't have any bookings this weekend, which is crazy. Comes very few and far between. And there's a Renaissance Fair in Dallas. I'm going to the Renaissance Fair because it's awesome and it's a good time. And people see a giant blonde guy walking around a leather skirt with no shirt on. They're like, "Hey, you look crazy. Can we take pictures with you?"
Definitely gets your attention. Yeah, I go to it's called Monster Mania Con. It's in New Jersey twice a year. It's like this horror convention. But some of these cosplayers, like,
dude,
like one was John Wick last year.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, can we get a picture? And all of them, not even most, all of them are like, yeah. Like, they won't charge you. They'll give you, like, their Instagram or something. Be like, hey, if you post this, tag me. But that's about it. And then it's like, man, some of these cosplays are like, they take the time. One girl was Orange Cassidy. I'm like, we're getting a picture.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, that's sick, but it's like, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you draw attention because you're massive and,
I always forget. And then I was just at lunch yesterday. And this cop comes walking up to me. And I was like, as far as I know, I'm not doing anything wrong. And she just leans over the table. And I'm there with a friend. She's like, you look like a Viking. Like, you should just have leather and blah, blah. And I was like, enjoy your lunch, ma'am. Like, she was super nice, but just came up to me in the middle of a restaurant.
Straight up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to do more. So, like, I used to always go to Dragon Con out in Georgia. Super fun. But conventions, it's just another thing where you get to meet fans. And my thing is if they're passionate about something. If they're excited about wrestling, I love comics. If they're excited about going to the Renaissance Fair and doing stuff, because that's all it is. It's superheroes. It's these people that you can look forward to seeing, kind of look up to, and even outside of that, you can just get lost and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, if I get to be a part of that, and especially when a little kid comes running up and they're super excited, man, it's awesome. Like, how would you not want to do that more and be a part of that? It's just fun.
Like, last month, I was at Monster Mania Con, and you ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
The main guy, Charlie Hunnam, he was there, and I'm walking up to the photo, and he's like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, I had a couple in me at that point, and I'm like, "I love you," and he's like, "I love you too."
Awesome.
Yeah, but I'm like mesmerized, and then I met Undertaker, and that was like, I'm walking up, I'm like, I didn't say I love you to him, trust me. I wasn't gonna do that. I wasn't gonna do that, but I was just like, you're a legend, like yeah. But like I saw Charlie the next day because there was like a 3-day convention. It's like, yeah, I may or may not have told you I loved you last night. Awesome. I was like, and he's like, it's okay. He goes, it's really okay. He's like, I love you, man. I'm like, all right, with that accent, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
but like super nice guy, like.
Yeah, because he's a good guy. It's part of why he's successful. Yeah. If he's successful, he's got. I love it. I love. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like, I love meeting the celebrities just to see how they are, and like some of them, I met Juice from Sons of Anarchy too.
Oh yeah.
Super nice guy.
Taker I've only met one time, and it was backstage at SmackDown in Laredo. Yeah. Super nice.
Taker to me, he wasn't gonna chat you up.
Yeah.
But if you went for a handshake, he was giving you that handshake.
Yep.
So I'm like, I respect that. He's never been a man to, have a 10-minute conversation with you.
Yeah, but a man of few words.
Yeah, he's a man of few words. It's a perfect way to put it. But he was respectful, and I'm like, all right, everyone's not going to be a talker. Yeah. But as long as you're, somewhat decent, which he was, of course, it's great.
Yeah, that's his thing.
So I think that was a very great chat, and I look forward to having you on again in about a month. I think it's a month from today. I think.
Yeah.
May 26th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun
7
time, man.
7 p.m. My channel, Bobby's Breakdowns. Anthony is coming on again, and thank you for agreeing. Xero always tells me, he goes, if you know of wrestlers that might want to come on, hit them up. So it slapped me in the face on last week's show. I'm like, might have a guy.
Yeah.
I might.
Absolutely.
It's
And
let me send out the message, but I might.
And just sitting around talking about wrestling, meeting, two new people like we met, but getting to actually go in depth about wrestling, I'm always for it, man. That's why I love podcasts. That's
that's cool. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, before when we sort of end this little bit, then can we see the belt up close on the camera?
Oh, absolutely.
Can we see
This
the
thing.
belt up close on camera? That's the thing. That's what I think. Can we see it?
Now I don't have to go to the gym after all this.
Bobby's held it, but obviously we were.
This thing is impressive. So, it's so much detail. They have the raised eagle on the center.
Yeah.
And then just everything. United States Tag Team Champion right there. They have the stones on there. And he's felt the weight of this. This thing is crazy. Got country.
No.
Gentlemen, and one of the things about this is it's I believe 7 plates.
Whoa,
so that's part of what makes it so heavy. Is at WrestleCon I actually got to talk to the company that made this, Fandu Belts, and so they told me a lot about it, and they apparently even tried to let them know, hey, if you're going with the 7 belts, this thing's going to be difficult to carry around. But Billy, he has his specific reasons and different ones he was basing it off of, and he wanted to make sure that it was the 7 plates and that the eagle was raised on it and everything like that.
Sense, That looks actually pretty cool, actually. That looks actually really cool. Yeah. Thank you for bringing it on.
I'm just going to tell people I've held it. They don't need to know, I just held it, literally in my hand. They can their imagination can run wild if I was a wrestler and I held the belt. Exactly. They don't need to know.
He held it back in. You held it back in 2023. That's
WrestleMania weekend. WrestleMania weekend. I held that belt.
Exactly.
Before we go off, then let's. I wanted to bring up a few bits and pieces because a few people have been asking me about it, so I said that I would cover it. Changing tack now, then. So it's about this this Vince news that's come down today. Well, hang on. I need to see the picture, Bobby, like normal. Of course, it's about this man again. Of course, it's about that man again. Something's come down within the space of today then, in relation to WWE being sued yet again. It's basically Vince is being took through to court due to, it was a storyline in 2020 or something, it was a lot of racist storylines, apparently. It was something to do with Bianca Belair was pitched to, before all of her promos, they wanted her to take out her earrings and then start threatening to beat everybody up, basically. And it was all stereotypical and stuff like that. One of the worst things, though, what they wanted to do behind it was there was going to be a love triangle with Aaliyah. It was then going to be Angel Garza and Mansoor. And it was going to be that Mansoor was hiding a massive secret. Now, this is where it gets really bad.
Fair warning. This is
this is not good. I will put out this advisory here. The secret that was pitched by WWE through creative was that Mansoor was actually secretly behind the 9/11 terror attacks. That was the that was the pitch. And so this ex-WWE writer has now took Vince McMahon. It was Vince, Stephanie, and another load of writers and producers and stuff like that to court over it. We all know how it's going to end. Obviously, the way all WWE lawsuits seem to end is Jerry McDevitt's going to write a check out, and it's going to be an NDA. It's going to be a NDA in it, basically. From
That's crazy, though.
So that's the Yeah, really bad that one is, isn't it? Especially bringing up the 9/11 stuff and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah, that was
that's horrible. And I
mm,
think so. My only thing is, unfortunately, when you say WWE pitched this, it's not really giving a
mm,
specific name. If it's supposed to be Vince or anyone specific, then that's
yeah.
horrible. There's no place for that in wrestling, and
The name is
obviously that's why.
the names on the lawsuit. I haven't got hold of the actual thing, but I had it all earlier, but I can't find it again now. But the actual names on the lawsuit from who said what, and there's a list of certain names who was pitched who have basically been brought up, and I know it's definitely Vince, Stephanie. There's another couple of writers as well who's been brought up. I'm trying to see if I can check because I actually some of them I didn't know who they were, so I googled them basically. I'm trying to see if I can bring up if I can remember some of the names, which it was. No, I can't remember who it was now, but yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a couple of ones. One of them is actually still a producer at SmackDown now. He's like lead producer at SmackDown now and everything like that. And there's one which is like lead of Raw and stuff like that now, and that which has been named on it. So
And that's that's not okay, never okay.
yeah,
And I'm glad it didn't make it onto the screen.
yeah,
There's no place for that in, I
no,
mean, in the world or entertainment or wrestling. Luckily, a lot
yeah,
of that has gotten pushed out, and that's good.
yeah,
A lot of people know me personally. Like, I'm terrified of needles. The only tattoo that I have is a huge equality symbol on my arm.
yeah,
That's the only tattoo that I
yeah,
have. But as far as, I mean, Mansoor's the only one that I've even, I think, met backstage, and he comes from places like Hood Slam. If you follow Hood Slam and any of those people, you'll immediately know their outlook on a storyline like that being pitched.
yeah,
I can't see him going along with something like that if it had gotten pitched to him.
yeah.
Those are a good group of
It's
guys and girls out there. The lady who runs it has
yeah,
extremely high moral fiber. So I wouldn't see any of that actually come into be, even if they had pitched the storyline to him.
yeah,
And not to sugarcoat any of it, but you have to remember that they did not run with that. So I'm
yeah,
not trying to
yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
give
Of course,
anyone a
yeah.
pass, but as far
no,
because it should have never been brought up, but
no,
at least they didn't let it go onto screen, and hopefully that was shut down very
yeah,
aggressively. Just because someone pitched it, hopefully that
yeah,
was shut down without any
yeah,
hesitation, because
yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, because that's what the latest that's the latest lawsuit is basically that they're it's an ex-writer. They've even named the writer as well. I've actually got I've got it here on the screen. I don't know if you can see it.
Abrahams.
Yeah, Abrahams. Yeah, so the report says
Cruz.
yeah, Abrahams began writing for WWE SmackDown and WWE Raw in 2020. According to the complaint, she's complained of racial and gender stereotypes in scripts, including the Bianca Belair one, which it was. Yeah, so that one was that. Oh, yeah, and Apollo Crews as well in his Nigerian accent.
Yeah, that
That was the
actually
other one
went
as well.
through.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was one part of it, and yeah, this is the second bit of it. There was the racist pitches on Slack thread. McMahon and his daughter Stephanie McMahon were included on. Other writers suggested a black male. Oh yeah, this was the other bit as well. Other wrestlers suggested that a black male wrestler should dress in drag. That was actually going to be Reggie, the wrestler Reggie.
Oh yeah.
The pitch for that was meant to be that Reggie was going to dress in drag and be Carmella's female tag team partner for that one. So that one was pitched as well. So it then says only when a white writer noted that doing so would basically go against stereotypes that would offend viewers was the pitch scrapped. She said, yeah.
So
yeah,
one of my things, just me personally, and we have someone named Pollo Del Mar with the NWA, and I've spoken with her about this. The idea of like, oh, we'll just have them dress in drag. And if you've watched drag, if you've seen drag performed at a high level, you don't just decide to do drag, even with an entire team, like an entertainment staff behind you. You don't just do drag. I've always said drag is much more organized and almost professional form of pro wrestling. because their presentation, the entertainment that they bring, the hard work that they put in is incredible to me. And I love watching drag. And the idea, I've had someone pitch it to me in promotions in the past. And I'm like, you don't just do drag like it's this nonchalant thing. They're much more put together, and the amount of work that they put in is 10 times what most pro wrestlers put in, even at the highest level. So it always trips me out, and they're like, oh, we'll just have this person do drag.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you know what that entails.
I don't know how
But
that works, but
all right, that's not, yeah. And it's a presentation of the person and who they are inside. So that's crazy to me. I definitely don't know what'll happen with that lawsuit, because again, you can bring lawsuits for anything, and then they have to decide what was fact and what is just being said. But yeah, certain things with that, it's just ridiculous. And hopefully, I mean, I'm definitely glad none of those storylines came to be. I do know Apollo just a little bit. He started out in Georgia, and he's an incredible talent. So I'm glad that he's been able to just show a lot of his talent. Now he's doing a lot.
So that was obviously the big story for today. So that's all I basically wanted to bring up, because I mean, there's been a few people in that obviously who, because we talked to some of the fans in that obviously who follow us on Twitter, and a few of them have been saying, oh yeah, you know, can you kind of explain this on your show tonight and stuff. I was like, yeah, I will do. So, you know, I said that I'd bring it up for that at the end. So obviously, that's what that one was. That's it done then, basically.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to our next interview, and we'll get really in depth with that one. This is just
for sure. I could chat with you for hours. Like, it's just so cool. It's just, you're so laid back. It's awesome.
Yeah. One more thing as well. And Bobby doesn't even know this, but before we came on air today, I've arranged something for next week. You know, we were saying about wrestlers and that coming on. This is a bit. I've kept this one quiet, and I think I mentioned it to you in the past. But we've got an interview on next week. Now I'm gonna let everyone know who obviously watches this now whilst we're on here, so you can find out at the same time as the fans find out. Now next week we've got somebody coming onto Uncut interview wise, right? Yeah. There we go. JTG. JTG. We've got booked for next week. Yes. He is on the show. He's coming on next week. I've arranged it just before we came on tonight, and that kept it quiet from you, and that, you know, because I thought, well, I want to see your reaction.
We don't tell each other anything.
No. I knew that you've been wanting to try and get like JTG in that for a while, so I've been secretly arranging it, and that I've been secretly arranging it. I've also just got a follow on Twitter as well, so that's pretty good. So so he's actually just been following me, and that. So he's so we've got that one arranged for next week as well. So we always do like to try and promote leading up to the interviews. Obviously coming on. So it's
that's going to be a fun time for you guys, because JTG, I've only met him a few times, honestly, at NWA shows, and he used to do one here in Dallas. I think he still does, but they don't run as often. He's always a great guy to talk to, great stories, and all of his stuff over the years, super interesting to watch, super entertaining.
So there we go. So I just wanted to see your genuine reaction, Steve, when I mentioned that one about that one. And obviously I've got the little screen in the corner, so even though I had it up on the even though I had the picture up, I could see your genuine reaction when it came down.
Because I was like, you saw my face, I'm like, all right, where is he going with this?
But I've been secretly arranging it and that, and I thought, well, I'll drop that one on the show tonight to
That's awesome.
let the one know there. Well, that's it. Thank you for coming on again. Then
thank you so much. We'll keep in touch. I'll see you in about a month on Bobby's Breakdowns. Friday, May 26th. I'm pretty sure that's the date, if off the top of my head. I don't know if you remember. I should remember this, but I'm not good with dates.
I would have to pull it up on the phone that I'm doing the podcast on. I would probably mess everything up.
May 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect.
Friday, May 26th, and we'll go into more detail. We'll tackle anything we didn't talk about.
I'll get that out for the main account as well, so you've got the interview for that as well. So I'll put the link out for that one as well, leading up to it
for sure.
And that through the main account and stuff. Do it for that way. Anything that you want to promote whilst you're here, or anything like that? Like any socials, anything like that, really, to like?
So definitely Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Most of those just look for the Thoroughbred Anthony Andrews. I'm enjoying TikTok. Only started it this year, and that 6-man tag or that 6-man ladder match that we had at Tomahawk Pro Wrestling. There's a little over 2,000 likes for the moment that Alexander Hammerstone and I had in the ring.
Yeah.
We never really got to finish that moment. We got face to face, and then everyone else kind of jumped back in, got back to it, and then realized we probably need the ladders to get up to the title. But so there's been a little bit on there. Like I said, over 2,000 people wanted to see that match. So hopefully that'll come up soon. Joe Kazana Promotions, I have in which month is that? Sorry, they're all getting a little busy this year. So Joe Kazana Promotions is in May. On the 19th, they're going to have Kane at that show as well.
Oh, cool.
Kane? Oh, that's sick.
Oh, so cool. He'll be out there. And then let's see, Wrestle America in Georgia on May 13th. I've got RCW coming up in July. Tomahawk and Gats Entertainment, that's in Texas, and then up in Salt Lake City. Those are both in September. And then, like I said, for NWA, we have the Crockett Cup. It's coming up at the beginning of June. So we're looking forward to that. Everyone knows who won them last time. It was the Briscoes. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, those are the main things that I'm excited for. And really the Crockett Cup. We've been traveling all over the country. It's been, 9 states in less than 4 months that we've traveled all over. My tag partner actually went over to the UK. I'd have to look through his social media to see exactly where he took them. But he took the NWA United States Tag Team Championships over there last month as well.
Okay.
So yeah. We're making our way around. And so the Crockett Cup would just be a nice one to add to that because it has so much tradition and legacy with it. So we're really excited for that. That's the main thing we're looking forward to. Just all over the place. We'll be in a state by you soon.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So so everybody then make sure that you follow Thoroughbred Anthony Andrews on the platforms. Bobby, do you want to do your normal? Yep. Don't forget
there we go.
Hit the like button and subscribe to both the both us and Bobby's breakdowns.
Go watch my WWE mock draft video. That was I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's currently sitting at 1.4k views. 1.4k views.
I'm one of them. I've actually watched one of them for a change. You keep going on at me about watching your videos.
For a change. Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that. Okay,
I will real quick before we hop off say one of the people I'm most excited about that I hope is part of the draft. I'm not even sure if they're gonna be. Is Gigi Dolan. She started out in Georgia. Yeah. She's awesome, and she has just all the tools. So I'm excited to see where she ends up during the draft.
Actually, whilst we're on the draft thing, I will just say one little thing which I've just actually been informed of is Friday night's draft. So SmackDown, night 1. I've been told prepare for a big return, basically. A big return part of the draft. Now, I haven't been given a name, but I'm told it's a big return, basically, to the company. So I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to find. I think it's either going to be Big E, Randy.
That's the 2 I was thinking.
Yeah,
I was just about to cough and be like, Randy Orton.
Yeah, either Big E or Randy or something like that. One of the ones which isn't listed down as being drafted, I'm going to go. That's what I'm thinking because neither of them are down on the draft list. So. But yeah, I've just been given that little bit of insider thingy from the
that would be sick
on a couple of things. So
amazing.
So that's pretty cool. So so that's the sign that in. So this is Xero. Thank you for watching, everybody, again, and thank you once again, Anthony, for coming on. Bobby, once again, another great show, and that. So,
man, I enjoyed this. This is great.
Yeah, it was. So that's this is Xero signing out then. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and whatever you want to do, basically.
See y'all later.
See you all later. Goodbye.